Insert pointless disclaimer here. Hello, loyal fans and subscribers. Ninamori Fanboy here. At the request of one of my loyal fans and subscribers, I'm going to make an opinionated list on my favorite generations of Pokemon. As of the date of this video, there are only 6 generations, and I'm going to be listing them in order from least favorite to favorite, based on not just the Pokemon from that generation or region. It's based on, the games and everything in its entirety. And as for remakes, they are counted in with the generation what they were released. So, for example, Heart Gold and Soul Silver would be Generation 4 instead of Generation 2, because, reasons. And I think that's all the criteria, so let's get started. My least favorite generation is Generation 2, for the sole fact that the battery dies and you cannot save the games anymore, rendering them unplayable unless you manually change the battery, which I don't know what I'm doing about that. But as far as the games themselves, they're phenomenal. Spoiler, my appreciation for Heart Gold and Soul Silver will be admitted later in the list, obviously, because, Gen 4 would have to be after Gen 2, because this is number 6, but now I'm rambling, so, yeah. Coming in at my second least favorite is Generation 5, which I'm aware that the vast majority of the internet has this as their number 1 favorite. I have just never understood the hype for these games. I mean, the story was okay, and I guess that's why a lot of people like this generation, because it had a much more story influence than any other generation. But for me, it's still about the games. I mean, the story isn't that good, in my opinion, to make it, worth putting higher than other generations just because of the story. I do like the games. I mean, they're great games. They're Pokemon games. They gotta be great. And I mean, when Black and White first came out, I didn't know what to make of the fact that there was no other non-native Unova Pokemon. I think I enjoyed it at the time, but now I don't so much, because Black and White 2 was so much better in my opinion, even though I think a lot of people prefer the original because, again, the storyline, which still, in my opinion, isn't that great. I mean, it's okay, like I said, but it's nothing groundbreaking like I think the internet is making it out to be, so yeah, I'm just gonna stop here. Coming in at number 4 is Generation 1. This is, of course, the generation I started with. As a result, nostalgia is probably playing a large part in this. And I know that most people are going to say that this entry is either too high or too low on the list, depending on which end of the spectrum you fall on. But for me, it sits, comfortably in the middle. Because, I think it's a good game. I know the complaints that a lot of people give these games are valid, but they just don't seem to bother me as much as, I enjoy the game. Psychic types are overpowered. The physical special attack split hadn't taken place yet, so that's annoying. The special attack special defense split hadn't taken place yet, but that doesn't really bother me at all. There are notably tons of bugs and glitches going on in these games, but I mean, unless they come up unexpectedly, they don't really bother me. Like when I'm just having fun, they're kind of fun to play around with, but that's neither here nor there for me. To top it all off, there's remakes of this generation of games, so there really isn't much reason to play these anymore, but I still find myself going back to these games every now and then, even not yet, because Yellow doesn't have a remake, obviously, so there is still a reason to play that, but I still even go back to Red and Green sometimes, so I don't have an explanation as to why it's here. I just like it, and I mean, there are some notable things I don't like about it, but that's no reason to put it anywhere else on the list. So enough for this going back and forth. Time to move on. Number 3 is Gen 6. If I had more time to play this generation, it might be even higher on the list than it is, because so far it's just phenomenal. There are so many changes implemented to it, and usually I'm not a huge fan of changes to the Pokemon series, a la Black and White, but the changes that were made to this generation were so fantastic in my opinion. The ability, okay, not even including the in-game stuff, just for the fact that There's so much better online playability. Immediately shoots this up to the top half of my list. But the in-game stuff too is just exquisite. Like, in my playthrough of X, I had so much fun just reading the dialogue. There were so many hidden, I don't want to say Easter eggs, but little references here and there that just I felt was awesome. And even though I do kind of like other games better than these, like I said, if I had more time to play these, they'd probably be, up higher on the list, because X has only been out for over a year, and Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire has only been out for a few months. But I've played them a lot, and I enjoy the post games of them both a lot. Obviously, they're definitively the best post game in my opinion, just because of the online abilities and the ease of breeding and training, EV training, which I know is obsolete because you can just gen Pokemon, but that's my opinion as to why it's here. So, number 2, or maybe number 1, because these two are so close together that I couldn't decide between them, so I literally just flipped a coin, and it was decided that my number 2 opinion is Generation 3. The original Ruby and Sapphire were so fun to play around with. I never, unfortunately, got around to playing Emerald very much. I mean, I did experiment a little, but I never played the full game, or even close to the full game, so I never got to experience the apparently phenomenal Battlefront here. But from what I did play from Ruby, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And when Fire Red and Leaf Green came out, I was so stoked, because I was so disappointed that you couldn't send over your Pokemon from Gen 2 to Gen 3. And I had a lot of Pokemon all the way back from Gen 1, I think. Either way, I was able to finally start getting the old Pokemon that I liked, like Golem. No, Golem was available in Ruby. Like Marowak and Nidoking, I remember, were a few that I really wanted, in Tyranitar. I wanted all of them, and I couldn't get them in Ruby, and then finally this came out and just added so much. And I kind of thought that Fire Red and Leaf Green would be the last in the series, so I kind of staked everything on there, and I just have such good memories of these games. I know there's still not the physical special split, which is unfortunate, and I don't know other common complaints about these games, but I certainly don't have any complaints other than the physical special split. That is the only thing I can think of that annoys me about these games. There were minute gripes about, completing the Pokedex, but there's always gripes about those, not just completing the Pokedex, but, sending Pokemon over between the games was a bit of a hassle, but I just thought it was, part of the main story, so I went along with it back when it came out. I'm trying to think of things I don't like, and I can't do it, so that must be a sign that these are really as great as they are. Maybe this is number 1, like I said, I don't know, so I guess we'll move on to number also 1. Number also 1, Generation 4. The original Diamond and Pearl came out on my birthday, and I remember getting the games and being not too excited, but not too disappointed either. I think I was just, disappointed because of the time it was in my life, ? Because, the games were pretty good. Admittingly, there were flaws when you compare it to Platinum, which I got when it came out 2 years later or whatever. But at the time, I really enjoyed Diamond and Pearl, mainly because of the physical special split. I know I've been building that up throughout this whole list, but that's really a big deal to me. Another big deal to me was the online feature that was added for the first time in Gen 4. I know Gen 6 kind of perfected it, quote-unquote perfected it. We'll see how great it gets in the future. But this introduced it, and this is also the generation where I first started, getting into competitive battling. So the complaints I do have about Diamond and Pearl are pretty insignificant. Just it's kind of slow at times, and it's kind of annoying in some areas, but I think Platinum fixes a lot of that, though I for some reason, get the feeling I enjoyed Pearl more than Platinum, but I don't think that's true. I think my brain's lying to me. Anyway, the real reason that this generation is on the list is for Heart Gold and Soul Silver. As I said in the bottom of the list, Generation 2 is probably my favorite, but the fact that you can't play the Generation 2 games anymore because of the internal battery dying is unfortunate, but you can still play the games as Heart Gold and Soul Silver from Generation 4, and they are pretty perfect. Everything good about the old games is present in the new ones. Everything good about the newer generational things is present in these, of course. There are even some new things implemented, like the Pokemon Follow You, and oh wow, just thinking about it now is so kind of makes me want to play it, but no, I don't, because there's too much to play right now. But if time just stopped and I could play something for eternity, that would probably be what it would be, because there's so much replayability. Like, the one thing it's not really a complaint, just you don't get this is gonna sound so stupid. You don't get the Game Boy player until after you beat the game, so you can't experience the nostalgia until after you beat the game and you've already gone through all the towns and heard the new songs. But that would just be too much nostalgia at once if they gave that to you right off the bat. So I think I'm done praising this game, although I'll never really be done. I just take a break from it, I guess. And yeah. So that was my list. If you liked it, make sure to do things. If you didn't like it, make sure to leave hate comments. Thanks for watching. Bye.